Om dare du dare, du re so ha. Om dare du dare, du re so ha.
All right. Well, good to have everybody here. Welcome, Jake. Good to see you. Um, Everybody online, good to have you as well. It's nice we can be together wherever we are. East Coast, the West Coast. Yeah, Florida. What's the weather like in Florida? You guys still it's warming up finally?
Uh, a little bit tonight.
A
Yeah.
little bit. Okay.
But it's
Yeah.
still 60s. It's gorgeous. 50s and 60s. Love it.
Yeah, that's balmy for us. It's like summer. Yeah. It was weird talking. I was talking to somebody in Florida. It was 20 degrees there, and it was like 48 here. And it was like something was wrong. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad you guys are getting it back. Okay, so we're in the text, and last week we were unpacking generosity. So the perfection of generosity, the perfection, generosity and ethics, patience, and so forth. It was actually generosity, patience, ethics, choice, effort, concentration, and wisdom. The thing about generosity is it's actually, it's so much to it. It's really the one of the primary antidotes to the cause of most of our suffering. We get very self-centered. We get to liking things a certain way, and this is my stuff, and it's your stuff, and this is the way people should act. And generosity is a direct antidote to self-centeredness. And when we think about the causes of so much of our suffering, center of the universe here, John, and you're not doing what I want. The world's not unfolding the way I think it should, and I have some ideas about how it should be, which I find fascinating. So ridiculous. How many things have come and gone in my life, and whole new opportunities showed up that I had no idea about. I mean, think about your life. How many things have changed, things you've learned, people you've met, we have no idea about. And I sit there and think, pretty sure it should be like this. And so out of this self-centeredness, I can start to think, I know how you should act and how other people should be. And then I get pretty caught up in the things that I like. And then I try to get the things I like, try to avoid the things I don't like. All of a sudden, I've got the whole wheel of samsara of suffering just rolling. And I don't even recognize that everything I'm doing to achieve happiness is the source of my suffering, right? What do I stress and worry about? The things I like. I want the good job. I want the right relationship. I want all the things I think are going to provide me happiness are actually where all my stress, worry, and fear come from. It's a very interesting disconnect with reality. Things have gone terribly for me thousands of times. And yet here I am, drinking sparkling water, hanging out with you. It's not so bad. And things have gone wonderfully, many times. Wonderful events in my life. And I can still get worried, fearful, right? Caught up. And so this disconnect between my attachment to outcomes and how things should be, all the suffering, stress, worry, and having seen outcomes really don't have that much of an impact on my life. What matters always is how I show up for life. How do I feel about myself? Am I doing things I feel good about? And then I get to look in the mirror. Different things happen. Different people come into my life. Things unfold. And this is where generosity, I'm moving between generosity and this idea of patience and ethics. The second one that we would bring up is patience. But with generosity, we have this opportunity to be of service, being of service to others, generous. Somebody provided a sour cherry pie. That was pretty generous. Just saying. Yeah. And we got a triple cherry pie. We got a lot of cherry pie. And a lot of generosity. But when we're even like baking a pie, like we're thinking of someone else, right? Or we're offering our time and our energy, we're giving. And you know what I'm not doing? I'm not caught up in me and mine. I'm not caught up in my worries and my fears. I'm having an opportunity to give, to be of service, to be helpful. We give our time. We talked about that last week. I got a package in the mail this week, a little box. And it was from Winnemucca, Nevada. So on my way back from California earlier this year, I stayed at a little motel in Winnemucca, Nevada. And, a very simple motel. It had fancy drapes, so kind of 70s-ish. Pretty cool. Really nice lady there. Had a nice chat. And anyway, I left my water bottle there. And really liked that water. It was pretty nice. Long story short, here it is a month or two later. The woman sent my water bottle to me in a box. $12.50 paid postage. And a little note just said, I found this in your room when I was cleaning it. That's all, and signed her name. Well, that's pretty cool, that go out of the effort and the time and send a water bottle. And you just think, wow, what a time, energy, generosity. She didn't say, can you pay me back? They didn't call me up and say, hey, I have your water bottle. Would you like to ship it? Any of that. Just a month later, there it is. From Jill. How cool is that? So yeah, I have the opportunity to say a little thank you and a little something back, It's nice. And so she'll receive something in a little while. But there was no asking, there was no transaction. There was found the once when I clean your room. And so when we think about how do we feel about ourselves when we're generous, and how do we feel about ourselves when we're self-centered? How small does my world get when it's all about me? And how free do I get when it's all about we? See what I did there? A me and a we thing? Yeah, that's good. And, but when we're a part of something, when we're, have a purpose, when we are engaged in the world, we're connected. A lot of people talk about the healing in the world's about connection. We care about others. And this idea of me and mine, my family or my friends, what if we expand it to all humans, and why not animals? How can I be helpful? Then, we like it when we see, little video of someone getting a deer out of a fence or actually a more vicious animal that's kind of caught up and they have to kind of work at it, not get bit. And somebody's taking their time to save another life. Now it's just heartwarming. So generosity connects us. And it's the antidote to self-centeredness and miserliness and mine. And so last week we kind of talked about giving a little more than you're comfortable with. Right? Doesn't mean give more than you have or that you need, but just a little more than you're comfortable with, right? A little more time to someone than I really wanted to, right? A little extra effort, to do something. I have a friend who, she's an artist, and she sends cards. And another friend actually, and they handwrite cards and say thank you and do stuff like that. Really makes me feel inadequate, Doesn't it? They've done all this time and energy. I'm like, that's so wonderful. And man, I'm not doing that. And, you know, but this opportunity, someone takes the time and they write, and they sent that. My wife, Lord, she's now hand painting little things. She put on the cards, did Valentine's cards, putting you on blast. And, painted those last night and, get the cards out today, handwritten. I mean, I signed John at the bottom, so it's, and I took him to the mail. I took him to the post office. Yeah, okay. So I'm there. But when we just recognize how much of our suffering is tied up in me and mine, and how much more freedom with we and ours, how much more opportunity, how I feel about myself when I'm connected to others and giving some time, some energy, maybe some resources. There's three categories of giving that they give in this teaching, and one is sort of that material things that we can give and being thoughtful about that. And the other is giving dharma. So meaning not necessarily that you're a Buddhist teacher or anything, but dharma. Is there something I can offer someone that will ease their suffering? Is there something I can offer someone that can help them with some more sense of real value? So a good definition of dharma that Lama Allen brings up is anything that cultivates genuine happiness, a deeper sense of well-being, not a temporary happy, like, yeah, you got cherry pie. I don't know, might be focused on that tonight. So, but hang on, I'm trying to get my head back in this here. What were we talking about? Uh, but what were we talking? Right, yeah, good. Genuine happiness, right. So not temporary stimulus-driven pleasure. Squirrel, yeah. But rather, what can I do to help someone really find some sense of well-being? And so giving, that kind of dharma. And then protection, protection, and in other words, how can we help people, be safe, be well? And one of the things that we may underestimate is how we give people protection by being good people. Like people need to worry around us, people, they're safer around us. Somebody's going to fall, we're going to pick them up, If I'm driving and paying attention to the road, people are safer. If I'm attentive in ways that are conscientious, people are safer. So we protect life, being aware of how we impact the world through what we do and where we go, and are we going off trail when they tell you should stay on the trail, just simple things in life are really adding to the quality of life, even how we shop and what we do. And to recognize that all of our actions then have an impact. And if I can be connected to that impact, when I'm choosing, like we go to the tortilleria here in town, they make the tortillas there and the chips. Let's support them, like it's, supporting a community and an environment. And I mean, they're good chips. I mean, I'm sort of addicted. But you can buy chips at the other store, and you might find someone else and, who can I support? Giving a donation, well, not a tip, even a tip, how much do I tip? And is it just, you hear me say it all the time because I think about it. Am I just figuring out the percent, or am I thinking about, can this be helpful to our community? Can it be helpful to the people working here? So all day long, we can be using generosity to stay connected to our communities, to the world that we live in, that we're making a difference. as opposed to what I have to do, who's in my way, what didn't go my way, how are people, affecting the way I think the world should be. There's a lot of center of the universe, me in that. And generosity is a direct antidote to attachment, right? Self-centeredness, aversion. It's a willingness to recognize that everyone in this world is contributing to life that we get to live. And so are we. And I can be thoughtful about that. And then I have more meaning and purpose in life. So really valuable. And then as we engage in this, we may start recognizing what's actually valuable. And that's really the key. We're on this planet in this human body for a limited amount of time. Limited amount of time. Well, what's important? What's important? What actually cultivates freedom, connection, well-being? By freedom, I mean freedom from mental and emotional afflictions. Freedom to walk this earth and feel good about who you are. Freedom to know that we have value. At the end of our life, what's going to be truly important? What's going to matter? Is it, our bank accounts or what we're stressed about right now? At the end of life, what's really going to matter? And what am I doing in my life that's giving me a life that I'm going to feel good about having? And so this is where I'm moving into renunciation. So renunciation is the foundational entry point into Dharma practice. What are we renouncing? We're renouncing delusional thinking, chasing hedonic pleasures as though that can actually give you some sense of lasting happiness. Chasing something that makes me feel good at the expense of doing things I feel good about. A belief system that's not based in reality. The sense of renunciation is what I'm doing in my life contributing to value in my life? Is it contributing to the ability to use my life in a way that is meaningful and has purpose? Or not? And so cognitive behavioral therapy, they have this whole basis of thinking errors, cognitive distortions. We project, we plan, we worry, we stress, we think about all these things. We start to discover that a vast amount of our stress, worry, and fear, our anxiety, our compulsions are nowhere other than our minds. Maybe it's not happening right now. I'm just enjoying some sparkling water. And everything else about tomorrow is just a made-up thing in my mind. Easy to forget, isn't it? But it seems so real, right? And then tied to that is an intertwined story of, well, if this works out, then I'll be happy. If it doesn't work out, it won't be. Totally disregarding that we've had 100,000 moments where it went well or it didn't go well. And here we are, Wednesday evening. And yet our mind will tell us, but if this next thing happens, it'll all be good. And we don't even question it. We just stress about it. Don't even question it. That would be delusional. But we're so in it, we don't even question it. Boy, this really needs to happen. I need this. It's going to make my life so good. So renunciation is renouncing this sort of delusional thinking and really focusing on what matters in life. It's a refinement that takes place over time, right? We don't have renunciation just because we decided, I'm going to start focusing on being a better person, focusing on my values, and I'm not going to stress and worry about all that other stuff. Because that might last about 20 minutes and till I'm caught up. But it's a subtle refinement that we question and challenge and then experience directly the results of choosing a certain behavior, a certain attitude, and start discovering what actually fills our life with purpose and meaning and what we call genuine happiness. Genuine happiness, by the way, is a sense of inner flourishing, a sense of well-being. It doesn't mean you're happy all the time. It means that even when you're not happy, you know you're okay. It allows us to go with the waves, the ups and downs of life, but know that we're the ocean, not just the waves. Those come and go, but there's a depth of wholeness that's there, of wellness. A sense that you really know you are worthy, you are valuable, your life is meaningful. And that allows the ups and downs to come and go without getting knocked off. Sense. So am I doing things to add to that well or not? And so if we start doing things that we feel good about, letting go of a lot of mental afflictions and projections and grasping, misidentifying them as the source of our happiness or suffering, placing the blame on them, and start noticing where is the ultimate cause, the real cause of happiness and real cause of suffering, and start working on that. Well, then we start not wasting our time on all that other nonsense. But it's a gradual process, right? So the real cause of my resentment is not the person I'm resentful at, right? It's me thinking they should be different and me not liking what happened. Resentment's here, not there. Resentment's a mental, emotional state that I have, that somebody can do something, the same thing to someone else, and they don't have any resentment. Water off the back. It happens to me. I'm resentful. How could they do that to me after all I did for them? And then who's suffering if I'm resentful for 10 years? I'm suffering. And then I'm resentful at someone who doesn't even exist. I'm resentful at an idea of a person who did exist 10 years ago. But that's not who they are today. I'm just carrying around an idea in my mind of someone who no longer exists that I'm resentful at and who is suffering. Pretty sure they're not. I am. They don't even exist. If they're alive, they're a whole different person than they were 10 years ago. I mean, I'm different than I was 10 years ago. You different than 10 years ago?
No.
Not at all. I haven't changed a bit. Glad you're always there for me, Brad. Appreciate that. Isn't it funny how then we can just freeze something and I'm not going to forgive them, which basically means I'm going to suffer for the rest of my life. I might as well stick a fork in my eye a lot. I don't know. So this is the thing, right? Delusional way that we can engage in the world without even questioning it. So renunciation is starting to renounce this pattern of habit and conditioning that is actually creating suffering in our lives. And we're renouncing those types of attitudes and behaviors and starting to cultivate reality, healthy, meaningful ways of living that get me where I'd like to go. And so this renunciation is really an entry point into Dharma, doing things that cultivate genuine happiness. That's just Dharma. Dharma is not Buddhist or Christian or anything. It's just Dharma is just truth. It's the nature of things. Here we get talking about Buddha Dharma, which is a Buddhist view on Dharma, but Dharma is just truth, basically. And it's found in all the religions, found in wisdom traditions. It's found in the advice that grandparent may have given you. Things we learn as a kid, kindergarten, healthy ways of living, good attitudes to have, learn how to share. And so this Dharma is available in our culture. It's always been around. But our culture is teaching us that we need this and that to be happy. And we're justified to be angry at this or that. And then we, see it all around. And then we get caught up in that belief system and we never even experience the difference to question. The time of my death was going to be, if today's my last day, what would it be like to be totally okay? This is it. That today I showed up okay. I was kind of, I was generous, I was patient, I was ethical. The world might be a little better place because I was in it. People are a little safer around me. Then we're entering into renunciation being an entry point into reality. I got a call from a woman the other day. She donated to our organization before. Her message was, can you help me give money away? I was like, you don't get that call every day, And I was chatting with her, and I called her and said, yeah, I'm going to probably potentially come into a lot, and I don't need it, I've got more than I need, and what I'd like to, her aspiration is literally to find a way to give just a lot of people like $1,000. Like they didn't have to do anything for it. They don't have to just, they could use it. Here's $1,000. Yeah, I'm not sure how we can do it or anything, but what an aspiration, right? I would just like to do that.
You have a list that you.
You meant to sign up to give it away, right? Yeah, yeah. So you wanted to get on a list to help find the people to give it to, right? And and so I mean, think about the peace and ease of that, and the joy of that, the joy of giving. Well, we'll talk about it, see how that may or may not be possible. I don't know, but just that aspiration, right? Just that thinking, and the freedom of that versus how much of our suffering is tied up to me and mine and what I'm clinging to that needs to happen, or who needs to like me, or what kind of relationship I need, or whatever. And not recognizing that those things are never the cause of your sense of worthiness and value. Your cause of worthiness and value is doing worthy and valuable things. Not rocket science, right? But not easy because there's so much configuration in our mind, so much conditioning in this experience that we have, and these habits and tendencies and impulses and desires that arise. I still will check Facebook Marketplace for the carpet cleaner I want. I used to be a carpet cleaner. Johnny's Carpet Care. Get Johnny on the spot. That's my motto. And pretty good, huh? Yeah. So, but I had this, portable, basic, professional thing. I loved it, and I had this suffering when I have to use this little homemade, home one. When I became a monk, I got rid of all my stuff. So I'll look, there was one like it, $500 in Hotchkiss once. Thought, man, that's a deal. They're like $3-4 grand normally. I didn't buy it. We have 2 bedrooms with carpet.
That's it.
And they're small. I don't need a carpet cleaning machine, okay? Just to be clear. Just to be clear. Will not prevent me from just taking a look once in a while. So that's kind of the habit, right? The desire, things that, it doesn't make sense for you. But if there happened to be one in Carbondale that someone was getting rid of for a little bit, it was convenient. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Buddhists would want me to have it. Maybe I'd clean your carpet. I don't know. So, but these very subtle things, that were, impulses and desires, and we're just so configured, and so this is where renunciation is. This idea of patience is, we're moving into. So first is generosity, and we're being connected, and then patience. Patience is the capacity to experience a discomfort or an impulse and not act on it. How much better would your life be if you knew how to be uncomfortable? I mean, how much of our life do we're incapable of being uncomfortable for a little bit? I have to do something. You don't have to be uncomfortable. You can watch YouTube videos. You can push a button, right? Except now I'm not paying attention to my life anymore. Patience, the ability to be okay being uncomfortable. And we can be uncomfortable in many ways. Uncomfortable with desires and compulsions that show up. And what would happen if we learned how to not act on them and know that they're just temporary, they'll come and they'll go? And I have a choice. Patience gives us a choice in our life. The opportunity to remember you only have 2 small bedrooms with carpet. I don't need a carpet. Even though Paonia is only a little over an hour away. Yeah. But, so much of our life, we just move on impulse. We just move on doing something to be comfortable when I'm uncomfortable. And then seeking a temporary pleasure, whereas a delayed gratification is really how we cultivate free will in our life and the ability to be the person we want to be, which requires sometimes patience is using the word of fortitude. Fortitude, I have fortitude. I can endure things that are difficult. And they'll come and they'll go, and I rest in my values. I rest in a sense of ability to be stable even when the waves are coming in. And to get into patience, which we'll do more later, is renunciation. If I get a sense of what actually will cultivate the life I want, what are those actions? What are those attitudes? What are those habits? And I get some experience with that, then I'll have the capacity to have some patience because I understand the delayed gratification. I'll understand that if I do this, here's the result. And if I do this, it takes me away. What is adding to the quality of my life and what is robbing me from the quality of my life? And so much of what's robbing the quality of my life can give me an instantaneous distraction or short-term pleasure. Whereas what's adding to the quality of my life, stability, practice, sense of well-being, virtue, values, it's not very immediate. It's not like that. And it's a delayed gratification. And so in order to engage in patience, there needs to be some clarity about reality, some clarity of renunciation, of delusional grasping and clinging to the confusion about what actually provides the happiness I seek and what provides the suffering I experience. And so renunciation is this thing that we refine. And on March 29th, and do a little one-day retreat, 3 principal aspects of the path. Renunciation is the first one. It'll be at Durango Dharma Center. You can join online if you don't want to go to Durango. But why wouldn't you want to go to Durango? Kind of a cool spot. And so I was reflecting on it, what brought up a few words from Venerable Tenzin Priya Darshi on renunciation, which I thought I'd like to share if I had it available. Apparently I closed that window. But I have patience to persevere and to seek out this Word document. Yeah, I transcribed his audio of his teaching. And I have patience that Word will open whenever it wants to. It's starting to. There we go. So just a few words on this. There we go. Share screen. I've been thinking about our conversation sometime.
Which one?
You didn't know just from me saying that? No. We were talking about how inconvenienced we could be by two-step verification.
Mhm.
Like, what? I need to click on that and put copy. Like, what an inconvenience.
Subtle agitation.
Yeah, subtle agitation, right? And it's so easy to do, right? And yet it can be like, really? I have to push another button? And so I was just laughing as I'm waiting for Word to open. I used to write papers on a typewriter, man, in college. I didn't have any of this nonsense. And so you can see how the mind works with, simple things that were actually quite amazing, like that you can actually log in and have a password and do a two-step. That's pretty easy. And then it's like, what? I need a two-step. Now what they want, facial and the fingerprint, I think. Passkey, I haven't looked into passkeys. I just keep saying later, I'll figure it out. So inconvenient. All right. So a couple things here and then we'll wrap up. Nobody's dived in with too many comments yet here. Okay. So without pure renunciation, there is no means to pacify the yearning for the joys of samsara. All right, so that's what we're talking about is the joys. I'm chasing stimulus-driven pleasure. I'm chasing something that's going to feel good. I'm chasing a stimulus. I'm decorating my prison cell of samsara with a lot of moments. Renunciation is often misunderstood. It's not merely aversion to the world, nor is it a reactionary rejection of life. Aversion and attachment are both forms of grasping, right? Delusional forms of grasping. Aversion, I don't want that. Attachment, I do want that, with the belief that they can offer me so much. True renunciation begins with a simple aspiration. I will not waste my life on what does not contribute to awakening, compassion, and freedom. but it is not indifference. It must be accompanied by deep care for sentient beings, right? For all these beings. I'm just not going to waste my life on all this nonsense. Is it contributing to well-being or not? Renunciation invites us to examine the push and pull of daily life. The narratives that tell us what's important, often inherited from family, culture, or society. These narratives are rarely examined. Renunciation allows us to refocus, diffuse the tension, and ask whether our commitments truly support our liberation. Renunciation is not dramatic, one-time decision. Sudden renunciation often leads to later reactionary accumulation. Nor is it merely simplifying one's life at the end of life. It's a lifelong process of refinement that can begin at any stage. That's right. So it's this thing we get better at. I stop grabbing onto these types of things that really aren't that valuable. And I start cultivating these kinds of things. It's just gradual letting go of old habits and tendencies that just don't serve you. Yeah. I often will mention the last time I went rock climbing. Used to rock climb, ropes, little harness, all that. The last time I climbed, I got to the top and I was like, I think I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. I mean, like, this was good. It was fun. Nice people I'm with. Beautiful day. But I was really interested in Dharma, and I thought, yeah, I think I'm done. And got rid of my stuff and started going to the center more and meditating more. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't, I need to let go of it. It was just like, this was great. It was fun. It was wonderful, but it's not what I want to spend my time doing so much anymore. It's like that, It's just not that interesting anymore. There's nothing wrong with it. Just had more interest in something else. So renunciation is this real deep exploration of what's really meaningful. And then we just stop doing things that aren't so valuable anymore. And then, I'm going to skip down here. Human life is rare and precious, yet impermanent. We rarely reflect deeply on what we truly want to do with it. Many of us postpone meaning, assuming it will come after obligations are fulfilled. Yet we seldom examine what meaning actually is. Like, what's a meaningful life for you? And why isn't that the biggest question you're asking yourself all day? Modern society often treats health and longevity as an ends in itself, in themselves. Buddhism asks instead, for what purpose? Health and longevity are meaningful insofar as they support liberation, compassion, and wisdom. Renunciation also challenges our notion of prosperity. Buddhism does not oppose comfort or wealth, but asks whether prosperity supports freedom. We do not know what enough is. Renunciation helps us discern sufficiency rather than excess. And so the invitation this week is to start to notice what are the things we get caught up in, and is that worth your time? What are the things that really add to your life? What adds to freedom? What creates the prison? What cultivates compassion and connection? What cultivates self-centeredness and isolation? What cultivates meaning and purpose in your life? And are you doing those things? Are we taking some time to remind ourselves of how to live our lives in ways that we feel good about? And just to wrap, before, if somebody has questions or thoughts, would you mind sharing? You have a microphone near you. just that simple advice that the monk offered for how people could begin their day. I mean, many of us, we have a morning practice, but I thought it's good to just hear this input. The monks are walking across to Washington and so forth, so they had a big talk, and he gave this simple morning advice.
Sure. Yeah, so he was speaking in front of the National Cathedral once they arrived in DC, and he was saying, when we wake up in the morning, we reach for that phone. He said, don't reach for the phone. And then he said, make your bed nicely. Go to the bathroom, do whatever else you need to do. Still, do not pick up the phone. Don't go to the bathroom with the phone. And then he said to take a piece of paper and a pen and sit down and write. And he stressed how important it is to actually write it out by hand, even if you've memorized it, even if you did it yesterday, but to write out the phrase, today will be my peaceful day. And then make today a peaceful day by what you bring to it and what you're cultivating in your inner life, inner experience. And yeah, he just said, do that every day. Do that every day.
Might have a more peaceful day, huh? Yeah. And, still we take time for ourselves to have a little quiet time before we touch a phone, before we get caught up in an email. Do we take some time to remember what's important? What's helpful? Then, you could change the word from peaceful to kind, compassionate, meaningful. I do write, a little bit in the morning every day, and I've been practicing my cursive. I dazzled Laura with, you wrote in cursive, yeah. And what I find is it really works the mind, because you really have to know where you're going. You have to pay attention to the next letter. It's not like when I just do my block right. It really does something different, and it's a real mindful practice to me. Because my mind will want to go to the next word, but I'm still got to put that R in that U, and that U connects to the A, and like it's all one thing. You're like, wow, you got to be there, and I notice when I'm not. And I've just found it a really valuable mindfulness practice to write in cursive again. You have to be there with each letter. Yeah. So it's a nice little practice. A little better than voice to text. Yeah, that wouldn't work so well, voice to text. Have a peaceful day. Yeah. Have to pick up the phone to do that, I guess. All right. Well, just checking in, see if anyone had any thoughts, comments, questions, curiosities. We head into our it's good to see you, Maureen. Hey, wow. Good to see you up and around, back at home.
It's good to be seen, literally. And I'm glad
Yeah.
to be home after the hospital 4 months. So
4 months in the hospital. Yeah.
yes. So it's hard to practice, but you do loving kindness in the hospital, and that's how it works for me. And I'm glad to be home rehabbing. So I'm back.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Rejoicing. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
You are a trooper. Bodhisattva, fierce. Yeah. All right. Okay. I think we're all doing good. Yeah, 4 months. She walked through it. Okay. Well, no, so next week is actually Losar, Tibetan New Year, Wednesday, the 18th. So we will have a special purification ceremony that will take place during our Dharma, our teaching. I was thinking about doing something in the morning, but we have our regular teaching, might as well do it here. So Losar, it's Tibetan New Year, it's one of the holiest days in the Tibetan Buddhist calendars. So within our time here, we'll have a special purification, body, speech, and mind. And probably have a few snacks. I might have cherry pie left over. I'm not sure.
Did you say?
Trying to be generous. I'm changing moment to moment. So everybody can now visualize me with my carpet cleaner and my cherry pie. That's all I need, man. All I need. So so yeah, so next Wednesday will be that. And April 9th through the 12th, something like that. We're gonna have monks here from Ganden Church and Monastery. So we'll have some special events while they're here. Monks from my monastery, a couple of my I know and have traveled with. So yeah, it'd be quite wonderful. All right. We'll go ahead and dedicate. So I'll pop that up. So a lot of things we could have been doing on a Wednesday evening, but we chose to take some time to engage in opening up our hearts and our minds, to engage in some learning, some guidance, some practice on how to improve ourselves in the world we live in. A great deal of merit is taking place there. So let us dedicate the merit that we've accumulated from our time here together and throughout our lives. Let's dedicate this for the benefit of all beings. May our efforts in this world find its way into the hearts and minds of others in ways that reduce their suffering and cultivate their liberation. Let us also dedicate our time and energy here today to our own continued spiritual growth in the path that suits us. We may cultivate that path, find our liberation from the mental and emotional afflictions that imprison us, engage in a life that's fulfilling and helpful to others. And in that context, those who would care to can join in the formal dedication. By this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of Guru Buddha, that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.
Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha.